There has been a series of recent studies on the personalities of people who prefer short-term mating strategies. And so that would be hookup culture. And that's a variant of a widespread biological strategy for reproduction that varies on one dimension, which is investment versus no investment, right? Human beings are high investment reproducers, but some human beings prefer a relatively low investment, high investment strategy. And those are people who
keep your daughters away from
That's
them.
right. But I want to explain why, because we actually know, we know why now. We know why, because the personality structure of men who prefer hookup culture has been delineated. So the men who prefer no investment sex are Machiavellian, so they use their language to manipulate. They're psychopathic, so they're predatory parasites. They're narcissistic, so they crave unearned social status, and to cap it all off, they're sadistic. Right, so one of the things that the sexual revolution did, free love, one of the things that the free love revolution did was hand women over to psychopaths. Right, this is not good. So the other thing, I'm curious about this with your daughters. Well, the other thing that women do for men is put limits on their psychopathy and their narcissism. Well, that's part of that civilizing process. But the limits aren't so much, they're partly that beauty and that alluring quality, but they're also partly hell no, right? Because one of the things I've discussed with my wife, for example, you tell me what you think about this. I think almost all the status that women have granted to them from men, like let's say at least in the domain of romantic entanglement and reproduction, comes from the woman's ability to say no. The ability to say no is actually a status marker, and that's especially true if the person who's pursuing you is relatively high status male, because and women, they're hypergamous. They tend to mate up, across and up hierarchies. And so then you ask, well, what status does a woman have if she's pursuing a high status male? And the answer is she has whatever status is granted to her by her ability to stand inviolate against his advances. That's a marker of her status. And so there's a limit setting there too that's crucial. And it's certainly something that there's no doubt that that's one of the ways that men test women. Now you could say, well, if I say no, and that might especially be true at a college that's 75% girls and 25% boys, if I say no, I'll never see him again. But the right attitude towards that is, if you say no and you see him again, you should never see him again. You should be glad he's gone.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few things. Another thing that the sexual revolution did, not just handing women over to the worst of all men, but it made young girls very hungry for any kind of male attention, because it disproportionately starved them of the paternal love that was supposed to satisfy that longing for male attention. And so, through the course of the last couple decades, where we decided to abandon the traditional notions of sex only within marriage, which meant children generally being born to a household where they were going to have daily contact with both their mother and their father, is now we have girls who grew up without their father, or with a revolving door of different men coming in and out of their mother's lives. On average, as you know, these girls will start their periods a year early, a whole year earlier,
major biological
than their counterparts.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So their bodies are literally signaling, I need to search for a man. And so now not only are there more men that are predatory for girls, but now there's more girls that, we call this father hunger in our work, mother hunger or father hunger. Like maybe you've got, two moms or two dads who love you, or a single mom who's providing for you materially, but they do not meet your need for male or female love. And so you hunger for it. And this is why you see incredibly high rates of teen pregnancy among girls who are fatherless, right? Because they didn't have that daily male love that they longed for, but they found it. Maybe they only found it for 5 minutes on a Friday night, but they found it. And so I think the sexual revolution has been bad for women, Of course, my argument is it has been especially bad for children, perpetuating terrible cycles. A note on Tammy's podcast. If you have not watched it, you should go subscribe. She has done some really fantastic interviews on this topic of, a proper understanding of what it means to be a woman, female. The interviews she's done on the effects of birth control on women's brains, I have sent out to tons of people. So it's very worthy of your time and attention for that. In terms of my daughters and limits and elevating the behavior of the men around them, I will tell you that both of them got a lot of attention from guys. Most of the guys were not worthy of a lot of their time and attention. But I will say that there were a few times where they said no. I mean, and I'm not talking about to a major sexual advance. I'm just saying, no, you can't have my attention. No, I won't be your girlfriend. No, I won't continue to be your girlfriend if you continue to do these kinds of things. And then they watch the men, the young men, the 16-year-old, the 17-year-old reform because the girl has something they want, even if it's just attention, even if it's just saying she is my girlfriend.
Well, there's nothing about attention. There's nothing but attention, right? Attention is everything. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just think that, my daughters have seen the incredible power of no.
Yeah.
And I will tell young girls, because I've been involved in youth ministry for decades. I was running the youth ministry at our church until about a year ago. And I tell girls, if there's a guy that you really like, and if you want him to pursue you, you say no to pretty much everything. No, I won't hold your hand. No, be kind, right? Yeah, you can go on a date. But if it has to do with a physical advance, the more you say no, the more your desirability goes up. If you want him to move on, give him what he wants physically. So once
give
girls
him what
figure
his
out the
whims
power
want.
of no.
Give him what his whims
Yes,
want.
that's right.
Right. Because you're serving the lowest part of him. Right. And I don't mean that,
Yes,
I don't mean that in some sexually prudish element. I'm saying that sexual desire itself is a short-term gratification seeking mechanism, so to speak. And it has to be integrated into a personality that's forward-looking and future-oriented and social. And if the relationship degenerates to the immediately sexual, then it serves no one's medium to long-term interests, and certainly not society's interests, certainly not children's interests, not least because it tends to culminate in abortion.
That's right. Yep, that's exactly right. Kids lose. Anytime sex is happening outside of long-term committed, heterosexual, permanent unions, kids will always pay the price for that. I think that's one of the reasons why we are where we are in terms of marriage and family, is we have pretended like there's no cost. But there is a cost. There's always a cost to kids. We've said if the adults are happy, the kids will be happy. We've said biology doesn't matter, love makes a family. But that's not true. Somebody is always going to pay the price. It's just the kids who pay it because they can't defend their own rights.